Absolutely. Pretty good handover, largely flattish move, but yes, a positive handover is what we are getting. In fact, US stock futures are mostly unchanged overnight as, Street is preparing to close out what's happening to be a strong 2025. Dow futures slipped about 18 points, whereas S&P 500 and Nasdaq 100 futures hovered right around the flat line. Now, today kicks off the first trading day of December. Investors are carrying solid momentum into the month. Last week, the S&P 500 jumped about 3.7%, the Nasdaq surged nearly 5%, and the Dow gained about 3% there. Seasonality is also attainable here in December. Historically, December has been one of those months where Wall Street records its best month, averaging more than a percent gain for the S&P 500 going back to 1950. But it hasn't all been smooth sailing. November did turn out to be turbulent, with the S&P 500 and Dow finishing the month essentially flat, whereas the Nasdaq that slipped about 1.5%, ending a 7-month winning streak. In fact, at one point, the tech-heavy index was down nearly 8% from its October close as concerns around stretched AI valuations that weighed on the sentiment. Now, in terms of what to watch out for as we begin December, investors will be eyeing whether December's seasonal strength can reassert itself, how AI-related stocks stabilize after November's pullback, and any fresh signals on interest rates heading into the year from Fed. That's as far as the Wall Street is concerned. So very positive cues is what we are getting, and December has been a seasonally strong month. So let's watch out if that stands true this time around as well.
Okay, so that's on everything that's been happening with global equity. But let's take a look at what is happening on the crude side and the other commodities. Let's take a look at first what's happening with WTI crude. A sharp uptake is something that WTI crude futures saw. More than a 1% uptake is somewhere where it's trading about right now, about $59 per barrel. The big event over the course of the weekend has been the OPEC Plus decision that came in yesterday. Remember, there was an OPEC and OPEC Plus virtual meeting yesterday wherein all of the bloc's members reaffirmed their decision to suspend production hikes later into this year, which is about 1 month left. On the back of this, crude gain, because remember, when there is a curtail on supply and the demand exceeds it or is able to meet it, the prices are usually likely to spike higher, and that is why we've seen these crude gains coming in. Brent absolutely flat, but yes, WTI and WTF futures are doing very well for themselves. Remember, there was a CME portal issue because of which crude futures had temporarily been suspended in terms of trading, but that is back online now. And we're also hearing some progress on the Russia-Ukraine front, although there are limited prospects right now because we've not heard anything further or any new development compared to last week. But any clarity on the Russia-Ukraine deal front, the peace deal front also could have an impact on oil once the sanctions of Russia, if at all, are lifted off. Remember, Russia is a major producer of crude oil globally, and if that supply starts to get counted, crude prices are expected to come down once again. But overall, if you take a look at the kind of move that oil prices have seen in November, oil prices recorded a 4th straight month of a decline in November. So that is a trend that we have seen playing out for crude, and that is the pressure that we have been seeing on the crude prices as well. But while we're talking about OPEC Plus, they've kept oil output unchanged for the first quarter of 2026, prioritizing stability over market share as fears of a global supply glut grow. Brent crude is already down 15% this year, remember, hovering around $63 a barrel. The group also approved the long-debated mechanism to assess members' maximum production capacity, which is a key step towards setting new output baselines from 2027. More than 3 million barrels per day of cuts remain in place, even as 8 members paused their planned hikes. So that is the latest development that we're seeing on the crude front, the oil front. But when you talk about gold, yes, gold continues to look steady, about 0.2% higher, on par for 4th monthly gain. On the flip side, you have oil that's lower for a 4th consecutive month. Gold around $4,266 per ounce. So that's a commodity handover coming in this morning.
Absolutely. So that's how the commodity markets are looking. Very important decision coming from the OPEC Plus as well.